like it's full of audits and what our discovery is around those audits, but then it's actually a very detailed 12-month plan. Like it's September,
Exactly.
do these 14 things, like, and we build it into a checklist so they can literally go, oh, I need
Wow.
to write blogs. Here's the 2 blogs. Here's the training video on how to write a blog. Here's the keyword research behind the blog.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Agency Growth Mastermind podcast. I think this is episode 13. Thank you for being on with me, Spencer Powell.
Hey, glad to be here, Tim. Thanks for the invite.
Spencer is the guy behind Builder Funnel, which is another contractor marketing agency, although I think you guys have a lot more like remodelers and builders. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've almost made it there to where we'd call ourselves like the design build marketing agency. So definitely interior remodelers, kitchen bath guys, and then custom builders.
Awesome. So it's funny, like I thought literally when I started like saying contractor marketing, I was like, maybe that means excavation and builders. The first thing you think of is like some of that stuff, like, or I didn't know. And then like that niche is gigantic. So
Yeah,
niching further a little bit, like 6 months later after we niched one time, a little bit more into roofing. But I think we're kind of adding a little bit of like HVAC and plumbing in there too. But nonetheless, today we are talking about adding discoveries to your process as an agency, adding product extensions and productizing your front end services. So we're going to cover a lot. Spencer, if you don't mind giving like a 1 or 2 minute just background of like what you've been through and why they might want to listen if they're an up and coming agency. And we're talking to, I say agencies going from 1 to 10 million. So like people that are on their way, they're not the 1-2 person companies, but maybe they've got 5 or 10 people and they're kind of trying to lift off.
cool. Yeah. So just some quick context. We've been doing this about 12 years. I kind of stumbled into it just out of college, was researching, learning about how social was being used for business. This was like the early innings of like Facebook business pages when those were like, we got to get these up, you know? So I started working with my uncle's remodeling division at the time and took that from about 2 million to 10 million over a 4-year span. And then we just kind of said, hey, I think we're onto something. Let's go help more companies like this, and built the agency around that. So today we're about 20 people or so. We only work with non-competing companies. So we're not going to work with 2 design build companies in the same metro area, stuff like that. And I would say we're a full service agency, you know, so we start out with a strategic approach and then we're going to implement for them. So do all their blogging, their content, their SEO, social, kind of the full funnel approach. That's the high level, I guess.
So even for like, let's say a small city versus like a Houston, cause you know, like you're talking about like, what is it? Like 10 million people or something like that in there. You'd only take one.
Right now, that's the way we're rolling, and we're kind of trying to figure out like how do we navigate that? Is there minimum price points for certain metro areas? And so that'll be, I think, our next evolution and something we do need to solve, because we've definitely turned away at least hundreds of thousands of dollars of work at this point, just with conflicts of interest. But it hasn't hit that pain point where we're like turning away work all the time because of it. So we're somewhere in the middle.
Because we're so micro niched into roofing, I feel like we've just been saying 1 per 500,000 people, but I mean, certain people don't love that. I think you either have to do something like that where you open it up per, like even 1 per 1 million or whatever. Like I feel like you either have to do that or you have to be broader. Like you have to kind of, I mean, unless you're trying to like stay small, or like, how many people do you have so far?
Clients or people on the team?
On the team.
About 20 people.
20 people. And what did you I'm just trying to figure out, like, if you want to crank it up, or do you really like that and you're like, I don't want to manage 100 people?
Yeah, yeah, we're definitely looking to grow. But I guess my counter argument would be there's a lot of cities. There's a
Yeah.
lot of cities.
Yes.
So
No, no,
you
no.
do
That's
like you you get your major metro areas like your Atlanta, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, where and those tend to be the places where we're like, yep, can't work with you, got a conflict. And so I think that's where we're going to look to raise our minimum like level of engagement with those
yeah.
clients that we do
Gotcha.
work with. But at the end of the day, like a lot of our guys don't want to go more than 40 minutes away. So sometimes we're
Mhm.
working with like three companies that are within a 2 hour radius or something like that. Cause they're like, I really don't want to go more than 10 miles,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is limiting, but you'd be surprised how not limiting it is as well.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. All right. I'm totally thinking about this at this moment. Do I want to add a discovery phase to our services? So this is super timely for me. I'll just give my brief backstory. I worked at an agency that had like a $7,000 discovery phase. And I found myself a little frustrated as the person. A lot of times the client would be like, where are my results? And I'd be like, we're 2 months in and here's a packet. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like there wasn't enough propulsion early. And so I cut that down, even though I do see the value. Um, that being said, our guys want leads. Roofers, they're just like so dead set on, I want leads now. And I think remodelers are a little bit more about the aesthetics, a little bit more. I've worked with a remodeler that wanted to have like 5 like calls and strategy sessions before we did one thing. So like I think it's a little bit different of a breed sometimes. But yeah, what are you guys start doing on discoveries right now, and how could that kind of apply to other agencies?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first a comment on that. I think you're spot on. Like roofers, it's a lot of it is lead gen focused. Like they just need volumes of calls and, form fills and stuff like that. Whereas like a design build remodeler, if they're doing projects between 200K and 500K, like they want more leads, but they want more of the right type of leads. Like there's very much a quality discussion around who are we trying to attract and how are we attracting them. And so they're not just looking to get flooded.
I
So
want
that
I
that
want
is,
that
I think, a
30 I want
consideration.
that $30,000 kitchen remodel. All right.
Yeah, I mean, even yeah, exactly. These guys are like, I won't touch a kitchen under 100K. So,
Yeah, they can just get fancy
um,
over there, man. That's why I can't hack it in the remodel, like interior remodeling. It's just like the criteria just keeps on going up, and you're like, damn, dude. Like, I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I like
I talked to a guy today. They said their minimum project was 200K, but now they're trying to push it to 300K. So,
well, that's
it's definitely
beautiful
a
for
different
them,
breed.
man. Like, there's
Yeah,
definitely like just like a broader housing discussion for a second, because I think it's interesting to you and I, because if the supply is not there, it's hard to market. Like there's just been everyone's gotten fancier. Like all these home builders, remodelers, they just get the quotient, it just goes up, 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 and there's not enough people to do the work. So there's nothing that's going to stop them from just keep on raising their prices and keep on just. I'm not going to do anything under 300. So like that's been like a big thing on my mind. A little bit is like, where do these people that don't have that budget even get remodelers? Like, you know what I
it's a
mean? Like,
good question.
it's a
Yeah,
really like I think it's like literally like nowhere, or terrible people off of Craigslist or something. Like, I mean,
yeah,
they're
it almost feels like the gap is widening. It's like you got the professional companies that are way up here, and then you've got like the chuck in the truck. And like if you can find somebody in the middle, for people that don't have,
yeah,
$200,000 budgets for their remodels. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know
but like
where that'll land, but yeah.
same goes for digital marketing. And the audience here is not like contractors for this particular uh, podcast episode, but maybe they'll get something of value of it. But we're talking to agencies, smaller agencies, maybe. So that discovery thing, it's the same thing, right? Where there's like the widening gap between like pros that have really niched or like have a very clear specialty, and then the super new marketing agency people. So how does the discovery help you offer better services?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, like, imagine somebody comes to you and they have this challenge of growing their business from 3 million to 4 million over the next 12 months. So that's the challenge presented. And you're going, okay, well, they need some more leads. We know that. We can kind of figure out how many more leads. But then you really have to dive into, like, how are we going to get those leads? What are the best channels? Who are we trying to target? Like, who's the ideal lead? All those types of questions. And the deeper you go down that path, the more time it takes, the more research it takes, the more planning it takes to like build that out. And so, sure, I could just sell an SEO package and be like, oh, you need more leads? Like, let's do some SEO. Like, okay, maybe that's the right answer, or maybe it's a answer, but maybe it's not the best answer. And so you end up with all these other questions and you kind of jump
Mm,
into action. And
yeah.
so for us, what we recognize is, well, if we can do more planning, like kind of go slow to go fast, right? So we're going to
Mhm.
do more planning, do more research, and then lay out what we feel like is the best plan. Then you're going to deliver better results because you took a little more time up front to get the things right, and then move forward from there. So that's kind of that mental shift that we made, because we did light discovery, but we didn't charge for it. It was just kind of like in the sales process.
Yeah.
um, and then we really just jumped into action as quick
What,
as we could.
what are
And
you
so now we
charging?
slow down a little bit.
What are you charging for those discoveries, and how do you do payments? Like, is it all up front or?
Yeah, so we charge 20 grand, and they can either pay up front or you can split it into 3 payments of 7 grand. So there's a little bit of a surcharge over,
Hmm.
if you want to split it over 60 days or
All right,
so.
buddy. All right, all right, all right. I like that. Okay. Now talk to me about exactly like what from their side, because people are paying that, right? So
Yep, people are
why
paying.
are they paying that? What do they really like about it? What are they getting out of that they're like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the analogy that's landing, especially like in the context of our audience, is they do the same thing with their clients. If they're going to do a $300,000 project, they need to spend a lot of time in design, in planning, in budgeting, in setting out the schedule, coordinating all the people that are going to do that project. And so they're not going to do that for free. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
charge a design fee. And
Mm-hmm.
that's typically like a percentage of the budget, like estimated project at that point. But we follow that same model. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're basically paying for the design. We call it the remodeler marketing blueprint. And we're going to lay out a 12-month blueprint of everything we need to do. And then they can self implement at that point, or then just hire us to do the
Ah,
work, which probably 75%, maybe even 80% end up hiring us to do the work. But some people
yeah.
do want to implement. And so we've made it so detailed that you could like hire an intern off the street, put them on the blueprint plan for 15 hours, 20 hours a week, and they would perform pretty well. Not to the same
Gotcha.
level as our team, but that's kind of been our goal. And so we do, like, it's full of audits and what our discovery is around those audits, but then it's actually a very detailed 12-month plan. Like, it's
Exactly.
September, do these 14 things, like, and we build it into a checklist so they can literally go, oh, I need
Wow.
to write blogs. Here's the 2 blogs. Here's the training video on how to write a blog. Here's the keyword research behind the blog. Like, it's
Jeez. Okay,
detailed.
now I'm seeing
Yeah.
it because I was like $20,000, dude. That's a lot of money for a blueprint. And then I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, with the checklists and the videos, and dang, dude, that's beautiful. That's super cool that you're doing that, and very exciting. Anything else you want to share about discoveries before we move on to productization?
Um, yeah, good question. I guess I would say that it's worth making that mental shift, whatever you feel like your discovery is going to look like for your agency.
Mm-hmm.
But it puts more of the consultant hat on you than
Mm,
the sales guy hat, and
yeah.
so they're coming to you with a problem. And if you're going to solve the problem, you need to diagnose it correctly, and they
Mm-hmm.
need to pay for the diagnosis. So say they come to you with a website speed problem, like, you would want to charge them at least something to diagnose the speed, even if it was like, yeah, I'm going to run 2 tests on like Google speed and something else, but I'm going to charge you like $150 to do that. And then I'm going to say, and the action plan. Like, how do I solve this speed problem, right? And so it's charging for that time to take your knowledge, which is valuable, and turn it into dollars. And I feel like we see that in so many service industries, even outside of agencies, is free estimates, free consults, free proposals. And it's like, if we can make the shift to like at least charge something, it doesn't have to be 20K, it doesn't have to be 7K, but something for that knowledge, then they start to see you as the consultant, as the person they're paying for the answer. They're more likely to move forward with the full plan with you too, because you were the one that did all the diagnosis and uncovered it. But it also makes that shift from, this is just a sales guy selling me some SEO or web design or whatever, to, oh, this is a person that's trying to solve my problem.
Yeah. Are you the main person kind of extrapolating that out to them and like delivering that? Or do you, like, is your team equipped to deliver that discovery and explain it in a way without you?
Yeah, good question. So it really allowed us to streamline that process. So I guess like pre this process of the blueprint, I was selling, and I would like look at their Google Analytics and analyze their site and talk to them about their goals and their current lead flow and what's working, what's not. And then I'd come back with like this customized plan based on what I had uncovered and what their goals were. But I didn't spend like tons and tons of time doing that because I wasn't getting paid for that. And I wasn't charging for it. And then I'd build this custom proposal. So if I were to repeat that process, I would need to find a salesperson that knew digital marketing, knew how to analyze all this stuff, and knew how to sell and follow a good sales process, and kind of knew residential construction. Like, that's a unicorn, right? That, like, how are you going to scale that up? Whereas this, what we did is we said, actually, we just need the sales process to be communicating the value of strategy, which is the blueprint. And if they can communicate the value of strategy, now it's like a 1 or 2 call close. And then the marketing team builds the blueprint, does the auditing, does all the discovery, and they build the execution plan, which is what you want. You want the marketers doing the auditing and doing the analysis. You don't want some sales guy doing that. In my case, I was the marketer, and then I was this because I'm the founder. And so, but if you scale that out, now salespeople just know they just need to figure out, how do I sell strategy? So I think that's like the long-term benefit there.
That's beautiful. I really like that. You're being very generous in this conversation, so I really appreciate it. It seems like maybe
you got it. Giving away all my secrets. Yeah.
Somebody must have helped you in the past. With
always. Yep. It's all. Like I'm very much a believer in put value out into the world and it'll come back. So
some people have helped me, so that's why I take that approach as well. All right. So we're going to talk about productizing your services, but first, random break to ask a provocative question for fun. Spencer, if we took you out of your company, just aliens came and swooped you right up and pulled you up to the sky, what would happen in 1 month at your company? Would it still be around? And what would be better and what would be worse?
It's a good question. In 1 month, it would look pretty similar. There would be no sales activity because I'm the sales guy right now. And we're in the process of hiring a salesperson, and that's that kind of rollout plan that I was just describing.
There's going to be leads, though, so somebody's probably going to try to field those, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. So like if I just disappeared, like my president would say, okay, we need somebody to follow these leads. She'd probably tap my marketing director because he's been here 7 years. So he could start fielding those calls. He probably would be able to sell something because he's very passionate and knowledgeable, and just that transfer of energy, he would probably do pretty well. And then she would start filling buckets. Like, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to put somebody as that in that president role, because she runs operations, all the one-on-ones with the team. Like, she's the backstop for all the client stuff. So I'm really sales and content. So they'd have to figure out how to like get somebody else on all the podcasts and get somebody on the sales calls. But other than that, I'm kind of worthless. So.
Perfect. Okay. So anything else what would you imagine? Like, this is a good thought experiment, I hope, for you too. Like, do you think the company would find its way and end up growing, or do you think it would slowly fade after the figurehead
Yeah,
gets abducted?
it's a very good question. I feel like the people on our leadership team, if they, assuming they were committed to like, we still want Builder Funnel to function,
That's a good question
I
too.
think they
That's
could.
a good question too.
I think that's like, if they were bought into that,
Yeah.
then yes.
Yes.
But if there was like 50-50, then I'd give it like maybe a 50-50 shot, after a year or two, like it would start stumbling. And if they're not profitable, then they're like, oh, we should just shut this down.
Spencer's the
But if
guest.
everyone was committed, yeah,
Spencer's the guest,
go
but I'm
ahead.
going to give him a take right now, just like for fun, because I feel like that's the important thing then. Like if I was you, that would be what I'd be focused on, like, do we want this to exist, and getting them to like be enthusiastic about that? Because the fact that that's a question in your mind, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess it wasn't. That's interesting because I think that's a great observation. It wasn't a question in my mind with me here.
yeah,
It's a question of me if I got abducted by aliens or whatever. Like, would they want to keep doing Builder Funnel knowing that I'm not here? Like,
yeah,
or would they look at that as like a chance to transition?
yeah. I
So
like
maybe it's the same question and I can't see it,
no.
but
We'll get back.
either way,
We'll
it's
get back into the regular scheduled programming here, but maybe that's like we got to write our wills, bro, and include some equities. Maybe
dude, I've been thinking about that a lot because, I just got off another podcast last week and it was about like company transitions.
yeah,
And he was like, yeah, I have this big long check. I'm like, yeah, I don't have any notes around like logins for banking or,
yeah.
QuickBooks and, who my, CPA is and all this stuff. So I need to start getting that
Just a
on paper.
little like action like pack for them if something happens. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the worst idea because it could happen. All right, so let's get back into it.
Yeah, it can happen.
Product
No, those are
extension.
good questions.
Let's do productizing your services first. So what have you found around productizing your service that would be useful to a young or up and coming agency owner?
So I think it really, for us, it was like productizing that front end, because the service component after the blueprint is really the result of what came out of that.
Yeah.
But I think like putting a name around it, putting some branding around it. Like I wrote a book called The Remodeler Marketing Blueprint. We branded this like strategy plan around the Remodeler Marketing Blueprint. And so it's easier to buy. Products are easier to buy, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can grasp this concept of like, I'm buying this thing. And so like part of the reason we like print up, the 150 page doc or whatever, and it's like nice, it's bound, it's color, like they get one sent to their office, is it's tangible and they can kind of feel it. And it sets you apart. Like it has a name. Like it isn't, oh, this is our discovery process and we charge $5,000 for it. It's like, no, this is the Remodeler Marketing Blueprint. This is all the value you get. This is what it is. And you can lay out like all those, 10, 12 value points behind it. So I think, and that's something we're doing as we're developing something around like website designs and themes and stuff, is like thinking about like, what's the name behind this, so you kind of like brand it, productize it versus just this is our web design service or this is our SEO service or social media service. So we can get into it when we kind of like talk about extensions. Yeah.
I love branding stuff, and I love branding internal processes. I feel like that's an underrated thing.
Yeah.
For like employees, if they have we have like on our websites, we have like hookified elements, and like we have a number like emotional hook points in our writing and stuff like that. And we like basically like kind of pull it in because I feel like when you have a name for something, it's a little easier to remember. I brand stuff to myself just to like.
I like it.
Kind of like have it,
it's memorable, right? That's why you brand stuff. No, that's cool. Yeah, and you guys have a great name for that. You could probably repurpose the hook, in a lot of different spots. So it's cool.
100%. And we were like, we've looked in like fishing analogies and stuff like that. But I'm, like we have like our what is it? The Real Lead Finder, which is like the
nice
finder. So it's like essentially our lead monitoring service. But yeah. So let's
hook, line, and sinker. Like there's probably something there, So.
Sure there is.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about service extensions. You were talking about you do like community as part of some of your services and different things like that. What else do you have that you're doing that's a service extension or product extension?
Yeah. So I would say like we have three different things. One is we launched Builder Funnel Academy a couple of years ago. So that's like your typical like on-demand training video course with templates and how to totally the DIY model, right? So you pay for access. We did that as an annual thing. And what we realized is like the recurring components were like the community questions and live Q&A calls. And so the way we priced it, it just didn't make sense. Like on the annual renewal, people were like, I kind of got the value out of the videos and I don't need this anymore. So we actually shifted that at the start of this year to a community, which is very much centered around community interaction. We do live Q&As. We bring in like outside guests and
Facebook,
experts.
or where do you put the community?
We do it on Circle. So we wanted to have it on like its own app and everything. And that maybe Facebook would have been better. But having the like payment method all through the same app was nice. And you can do some other stuff you can't really do on Facebook.
Live Q&A calls.
But it is another app people have to download. So
I'm gonna do I'm just curious, and it's fun and exciting to me. So like the live Q&A calls, you do those weekly, and like anyone that wants to join can join, and they can all just ask questions as they have them, or what? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we do them monthly, and they're generally centered around marketing since that's what we do. But yeah, anyone in the community can just jump on, and like that's their way to get direct access to us. We usually have like 1, 2, or 3 team members on that, and so they'll just field questions, and we spend an hour or however long people want to ask questions. And then we will use like outside experts and guests to come in and fill other voids that we don't cover, and we're not experts in. And so same format, usually either total Q&A or like 20, 30 minutes of presentation and then some Q&A so they can get direct access to some other people. But the way we pivoted that product was we said, hey, join the community for a month and you get lifetime access to Builder Funnel Academy. We just scrapped like charging for it. It was like a $1,300 for the year or something, or $199 a month for the academy, and now the community is $49 a month or $99 for a team license. So for $49 you can just get Builder Funnel Academy and keep rolling.
Do you feel like the time you've spent to build all that stuff out has been worth it?
Yes. And the reason I say that is I don't think it's been worth it as a standalone, but it's been worth it to see people join those lower tiers and then ascend to full service into the agency. So I think it's really been like a brand play and kind of a long-term nurturing and a way for people to test the waters with us and like get to know us a little bit. And then they build up a lot of trust. Like guy signed up with us this summer. He's like, yep, I joined your academy a couple of years ago. I've been growing my business. Like I wasn't big enough. And now I'm ready. We had like a 45-minute call and he's like, let's roll, send me the paperwork. And so if we can create more of that trust through some of these entry level where we're just over delivering on value, then we're looking at that as kind of a long-term play there.
How much video, like when you did the academy, how much video did you record? I think probably I'm not the only one out here that's thinking about doing some kind of login scenario where you got videos and all that. And did you build that on Circle? And how much time did you spend on the videos themselves, like before you're like, this is enough to charge for?
So we launched it. We had been planning to launch it basically right in like Q1, Q2 of 2020. So we started working on it, I think in Q4 of the previous year. And then we were really cranking it out in that first quarter. And then just timing wise, like COVID hit, everybody went remote, and that was like right when we were launching. So we did like a 2-week launch, and then we shut the doors.
That was kind of lucky.
I think it worked in our favor. Yeah, I think we were about $50K in sales for that, and we did it as a discount for like $9.99 for an annual license or something. I can't quite remember, but I think we had 20 modules in there, and each module had like 1 to 4 videos, and the videos were all like 5 to 20 minutes.
Was that on Circle?
We did that on Kajabi.
Yeah. I did a Kajabi and mine just went poorly. So maybe I just am like tainted now. I did like a couple courses and now I just like I flipped them into just like MailChimp drip campaigns instead, and people can sign up for them and get them daily. But I I feel like my future will have some kind of course to it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's more about like what experience you want to deliver. Because I love the email drip courses. Like they're super simple, and if you can deliver the value in that, like don't mess around with like building out the whole platform and everything. This was our first like real go at like we're gonna build a legit
Yeah.
course and try to put like a real launch structure around it with like a 2 week launch and cart closing sort of thing. So it was a big undertaking.
Hey Spencer, I apologize. I realize I have something butting up against this a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than 40 minutes. I'm going to ask like a couple more questions here and then wrap it up if that's fine.
It's
And
all good. No worries.
so any feedback that you'd give to a younger agency owner that to avoid some of the pitfalls or maybe have a better time of it in their agency than you've had? I just am assuming that you've had some pain like I have. So
Many. Yeah. So much pain. Yeah. I would say pick a vertical and focus on solving real problems, not developing services you think you need. Because I think we want to like have this menu of services and we can create packages around it, but then is it actually solving the problem? So if you pick the vertical, you can identify problems easier, and if you solve the problems, the services will kind of build themselves.
That's really, really good. Anything else that you're learning right now that you just want to share with some other agencies?
Charge more than you think you should, especially if you're new. I think it's a balance. If you're brand new, I'd say almost like do the work for free, build your first case studies, and then try to work your pricing up so that you're at least above average and you're in the premium zone. Agency business is people leverage business. It's systems, it's IP, and so you really have to have a good grasp on what problems you solve and your value points. And if you can't train those value points down to your team, like you'll never scale. And so you have to charge enough so that you can bring on good people and train them and let them build careers. Otherwise, you'll just keep churning through people at certain, salary ranges, and you'll never be able to like push beyond that. So I think it's important to get into the premium zone as quickly as you can.
Wow. This has been a really, really valuable conversation. Spencer, thank you for coming in here thinking I'm going to give value. And I feel like I see this more and more with niched agencies. I feel like niched agencies kind of know where they're at and they're not like feeling so scared as sometimes the broad agencies are. And so they're like, I don't know if I should share this. And you're like, why? So I love that you're niched and that, hey, folks that are watching this or listening to this, I find agencies are a great referral source for other agencies. So if you know builders, remodelers, the design build category clients or people coming to you asking, check out Builder Funnel and send some referrals his way. Because I think that the more you refer, the more you get referrals. And I think it's a beautiful way to build your business. And I'm grateful to get a ton of referrals from other agencies. So keep it up, everybody. And any other, like, where would somebody go? Is there anything, a way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, I would say, well, first, thanks for having me on. And I always enjoy these conversations and totally agree. Like if you pick a vertical, like you're less concerned about competition. And, like I have friends that have businesses and sometimes they'll ask me for marketing. And I'm like, you're not in my industry, man. So like I need places to send those companies, because I don't want to work with a lawyer or a, dentist or a restaurant or anything like that. But yeah, I guess head over to builderfunnel.com if you just kind of want to like poke around and see what we're up to. And then you can always look me up on LinkedIn if you just want to connect with me personally. Those are probably the two easiest ways.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, and appreciate everyone watching and listening to this. Obviously, the podcast is put on by hookagency.com and Hook Agency on social. All right, bye.
Cool. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.